Hello. So today we are looking at the black square Analogue King Air in Microsoft Flight Simulator. So this just came out earlier today, and we're going to whiz through the aircraft and have a look and show you why this aeroplane has been so anticipated. I mean, look at that cockpit. You don't often see cockpits like that in Flight Simulator, do you? If we look around, the nice thing about this aircraft is absolutely everything works, and not just that it functionally works, it works exactly as the real aircraft should. Okay, so if we jump over to the cockpit, to the pilot view, and look around the cockpit, you can see the quality of the rendering is absolutely stunning. So every single instrument has been rendered, every switch, every dial, as per the real thing. And as I said, it's not just functional, they behave in exactly the same way as the real aircraft, not just in terms of needle movement even, but in terms of the electrical draw of each instrument and the chain of failures that can happen throughout the aircraft. If you get a particular subsystem go down, then you can fault find and trace as you would with the real thing. Okay, so we're just going to go through a basic startup of the aircraft and take it for a circuit. We're at Bucket Airfield in Buckinghamshire, where I do most of my flight tests. And yeah, we'll get the aircraft up and running and just explain what we're doing along the way. I'm going to miss out an awful lot of the checklists. For once in an aircraft, this has got lots and lots of checklists, and they are very, very detailed, and each of them does have the highlighting, so it will take you to the exact place in the aircraft. Also, they've really gone to town on the views, where they make total sense for being able to look around. So if you were going to do written instructions, you could use them. I'm in the process of writing up some instructions for this one, but the predefined views are very, very good as well. Okay, so what do we do if we're going to start this aeroplane up? The first thing we're going to do is go and turn the battery on, and it's underneath this cover here. And then after doing that, we're going to go and turn the beacon light on to warn everybody outside we're about to start the aeroplane. And you can see turning the master power on has effectively lit up everything like a Christmas tree. You will see those lights going out one after another as we power systems up. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is push the propeller levers all the way forwards, ready to start the engines. Again, I'm just going to repeat it once more, this is a functional startup procedure. Before anybody gets on my case about saying you didn't test this, you didn't do that, you didn't say this, I'm just going through the basics. Okay, levers are forwards so we can hit start on the right engine. As soon as we do so, you will see the turbine RPM increase for engine number 2, or the right engine. When it gets to 12%, we can increase or push the condition lever for the right engine forward to low idle. So there it goes. So we push the condition lever to low idle, and you will see the engine increase to about 60%. When it gets past 50%, we turn the starter off. So it's just coming past 50% now, so starter comes off, and we can then turn the generator on for the right engine, and we can flick it forwards. You saw me do that, which resets it, and then it falls back into the middle to its on position. So now we can do the same again for the left engine. So left engine starter on, the RPM is increasing. When it gets to 12, we move the condition lever for the left engine to low idle. It will continue on around. You can see the propeller coming up to speed out there. It's a wonderfully modelled cockpit. It really is spectacular. Okay, so it's just coming past 50%, so we can turn the starter off and we can roll the left generator forwards to the reset. It falls back to the middle, and that's basically it for starting the engines. So the very basic part of starting the engines. You might now go and open the bleed air valves over here, and I'm just trying to think. I've done this a couple of times, but I'm still quite rusty at doing this. inverters. So there's a DC and AC electrical power on board the aircraft. So before we go and turn on the avionics, we're going to go and turn the inverters on, which will provide AC power. So then we can arm the auto feathering, and then we can go and turn on the avionics. Also notice the ignition, I've just armed it. Avionics is there. There we go. So you can see everything's come to life. It's wonderful how the various needles and instruments kind of initialize themselves, and it's essentially exactly as the real thing does. So you can see an altitude alert is flashing, so we'll go and set an initial altitude for the altimeter, which will make that go away. We can stop these from flashing as well. So you can see a few lights left to deal with. We've got pitch trim, oxygen system and rudder. So there's the oxygen system. You pull this lever up and it arms it. Back here you can see there's the rudder boost, and there's the electrical trim, which is the pitch trim for the autopilot basically. And that's pretty much it. We are now ready to fly, but before we do so, let's go and have a look around some of the instruments. So we've got indicated airspeed, we've got clock, turn coordinator. You've got the option of slaving the gyro-driven compasses from the navigation system or not. If we don't, we can rotate them away from the navigation system. So if you had a navigation system failure, you could then account for deviation in the magnetic compass, for example, based on knowing what part of the world you're in and using charts. You've got all the switches for the audio enunciations. You've got all the engine gauges, obviously, temperatures, RPMs, so on and so forth, fuel flow. You've got a combined HSI CDI instrument for nav1. You've also obviously got normal nav instruments and DME. You've got ADF and VOR over here. You've got vertical speed. So you've got pretty much everything you could want. Obviously all the lights are down here, so part of the normal checklist would be to consider what lights you need. So we'll go and put recognition, nav and taxi lights on for the moment. And obviously as we taxi out, we go and put the strobes on as well. Coming over to the co-pilot side, obviously you get the bleed air that we just saw. Interestingly, look at these two switches here. I think this is awesome. So the default loadout, you get this Bendix weather radar and a navigation radio. And by navigation radio, I mean if I go and look on here at Bovingdon 11375 on the VOR, 11375, and it should light up. There it goes. So obviously we're not doing any speed, but independently of the navigation radios in the aircraft, you get another one that you can use to just for navigation purposes, with a paper chart. Beyond that, though, if we don't like these, or before we go any further, let's just have a quick look at this. This aircraft accurately models failures, and you can configure how it does it. So it's hidden in the weather radar. So as well as simulating the weather radar doing its test signal, you can go to the nav and log options in the weather radar, and hidden in there is the failure system. So you can repair your aircraft, but you can also set failures and the rate at which failures occur. And if you go into detailed settings, there's pages and pages of it, and it's fantastic. Okay, so we're not going to bother with that because we want to completely swap these instruments out and see what else we've got. So if we flick this, I'll just get rid of this yoke out of the way. If we flick this top switch to the middle, we end up with a GNS 530 GPS system alongside the weather radar. If we flick this further across, we get the GTN 750. This is the free PMS GTN 750 add-on that I have in my community folder. And we can see there's a message on there at the moment. It's a touchscreen, so it's really quick and easy to use. If we want to, we can also switch out the weather radar and add back in the 530 alongside this if you really wanted to have a crazy mixture of stuff. But yeah, I just think it's fantastic that it gives you all those options. Okay, I'm just going to press B to calibrate the altimeter. And we'll have a quick look around, make sure everything's looking good, and it is. So as I said, we're going to do a quick circuit of Booker Airfield just to see that the airplane does actually fly okay. So first thing we're going to do then is come off the parking brake. You can see we have a small amount of positive thrust from the propellers. I've moved the flaps to takeoff position. We will now go and advance those throttles to high RPM. We'll turn the strobes on. And we're just going to roll out towards the runway and do that quick circuit. So we're taking off runway 24 at Booker. Okay. Roll the throttles forwards. 80% both throttles. Holding a small amount of right stick, there's obviously a crosswind. Coming through 100 knots and rotate. And we're off the ground. Undercarriage up. Flaps up. And we'll climb out to, I guess, about 2,000 feet. Notice even in above a 10-degree climb it's still accelerating, and then some. It's a very powerful, very fast aeroplane. So we're going to come back to 50% throttle. And here comes 2,000 feet on the altimeter. So I'm just flying this by hand. Let's trim it. Okay, let's begin a left turn. Come back round to 60 degrees. It's fantastically modelled, isn't it? It's very, very good. You even get reflections in the weather radar. Okay, there's our 60 degrees. So we'll roll it out straight. Even at 50% throttle, it's still accelerating towards 240 knots, look. So if I pull the throttles back, you'll hear a klaxon. There it goes. And that's warning us that we haven't got the undercarriage down. So I'm just going to hold the throttles at their minimum there and let the speed bleed back off as we go downwind. Let's have a look out the window. We should see the airfield over there. And yes, we can see the airfield. So we're just manually flying this. I have to say it's very docile. I don't think they've changed the flight model from the King Air that's built into the simulator. But obviously the avionics are a completely different animal now. So everything works as it should. And you get wonderful analog gauges. Okay, the speed is bleeding off. So by the time we come out of the corner, if we do quite a steep bank, we should have lost quite a lot of that speed. Let's go for the undercarriage. So slowly coming back round to 240. We should. Famous last words. See the field. It's over here. So obviously we turned a little bit more steeply. Let's sit up so we can actually see where we're going. watching that speed. Let's keep it on the safe side of 100 knots. So just coming back in towards Booker. So you can see from the speed bleeding off, even at quite a steep descent, it's still at idle, it does lose quite a lot of speed with the flaps down. So it's quite draggy with the flaps and the undercarriage. Turbulence as we come over the road. Not going to worry too much about that. As I said, it does have reverse pitch on the propellers. We're not going to use it, we're just going to stall it onto the runway, and we're down. So even just using wheel brakes, look, it's very docile, stops quickly. Roll along and then flaps up. And follow the line in. Okay, so there we go. The King Air. The Analogue King Air. I am hugely impressed with it. Obviously it's nothing to do with what it looks like from the outside, because we've all seen the King Air and it's the same external model as the existing one in the simulator. But internally it's absolutely a different animal now. So I don't think there's much value in showing you coming back in. It's really about looking at that startup procedure. So obviously, you know, we get on the ground and we just switch everything back off and starve the engines to shut them down. So I'm going to stop short here at the parking area. It looks quite busy in there, doesn't it? There's a couple of RV14s in there. Parking brake on. And I'm going to leave it there for today. So hopefully you enjoyed that. And obviously this is going to be all sorts of fun to do some longer range trips with playing with the instruments and tuning the aircraft out and playing with the systems and having a play with some of the failures as well to kind of practice procedures. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there and I'll see you again soon.